It is. Well, I guess first off, I should ask: can people actually hear the tunes? Because I'm not sure if I've got my audio balance right. If not, let me know in the chat, and I'll fix it as we go. It is Saturday morning, and your cardigan is freshly washed. Welcome to the weekend in a little town called Coxwette. Your date is not until 5 p.m., assuming you still want to go. No one's making you. You're free to move around the town, see who you want, and go where you will. Explore, finish up your obligations, or laze around the Plath House. It's completely up to you. You are currently comfortable lounging on the ridiculous 19th century sofa in front of the fireplace, being leered at by several generations of Plaths in dusty old frames. Okay, looks like the tunes are good. You do one of those extreme cat yawns. Some coffee would be good. You don't know where to begin looking for Harold Powell, but the thought of speaking with him makes you cringe. You could definitely go visit Farmer Davy's place, so you add that to the docket. But first, there is the matter of Ramona. You probably should be tactful. You try to decide if you should pay your bill or talk about last night. Narrowly, you choose to belay paying your bill for the time being. Hey, Ramona. You pause, thinking that it would have been easier than this to find the right words. How are you feeling? And Ramona says, "Good morning." You decide to try to smooth things over. You say, "Yep, whatever that was is between you and me. I mean, it was amazing. Don't get me wrong. Not a lot of ladies will go start to finish in the mouth like that. I mean, seriously, 10 out of 10. Like, not even hookers." Ramona looks on with a blank expression. See, Jesus Christ, I didn't mean it like that. I mean, any man would be lucky to... Nope. Alright, jumping off the train was easier than this. You'll pay the bill. Double the bill if it means getting out of talking about this. This is your worst nightmare. Women are usually gone by this time. Say, "Can I, get you a bottle of aspirin?" And Ramona says, "Chuck, I can't control my feelings. It never happened." And you say, "Right, it didn't, and I know how you feel." And Ramona says, "No, you don't." She sighs as deeply as ever, but doesn't seem as upset as she just was. A weight is off her shoulders, and she stands visibly straighter. She says, "There's coffee in the pot, and please have your bill paid by the end of the day." She goes back upstairs, but stops along the way. And Ramona says, "Oh, and I forgot to mention when you arrived, please stay out of the ground floor boudoir. We don't allow guests in there." You aren't really sure where that even is. Either way, you feel like heading for the farm next. Your excellent sleep paired with the coffee gives you loads of energy, and you cut straight through to the dirt road leading out to the nearby countryside. The coffee tastes like bitter newspaper, but at least it is brewed strong. The road follows the river until a medium-sized apple orchard comes into view. Next to it is an old farmhouse with a barn in the back. A young woman looks up from behind a crate of empty glass bottles. Nor says, "Well, you've got the look of a gentleman." Your phenomenal effort to maintain eye contact has paid off. Or says, "What's your name, stranger?" And say, "Chuck, ma'am." You throw a fake southern twang over your chewy northeast accent. People seem to like that around here. Says, "Well, it sure is nice to meet a newcomer. You from over in Coxwette?" You say, "No, not originally, ma'am." She says, "Well, welcome, sugar. My name's Donna." You say, "I'm here to see Davy." Donna says, "Oh, I'll run in and get him. Daddy!" You hear a different voice go, "What?" And Donna says, "A gentleman here to see you." You hear she calls back, "A clergyman? What's a clergyman want?" Donna says, "Gentleman! Gentle!" Dave says, "Come on in here, Donna. I can't hear you." Donna says, "What?" And Davy says, "I said." This goes on for some time, before a man with something slung over his shoulder saunters out of the house. And Davy says, "You don't look like no clergyman." You say, "That's because I'm not a clergyman." And Davy says, "What you want then? You sniffing around my daughter?" You say, "Well, to be honest with you, sir, I'm after that booze you've got." He says, "Oh, are you?" Dave says, "I suppose you think I'm gonna just give it to you, or maybe I'm gonna sell it to you." You say, "That's the hope, sir." And Dave says, "Well, come on in. Help yourself." He pats his rifle against his hand as soon as you start to move. "What's the matter, boy?" You say, "If I didn't know any better, I'd say you were threatening me, Mr. Davy." And he says, "Oh, so you ain't all dumb like the rest of 'em. I don't need money from no stinking Coxwette freaks. Get lost." You say, "If you don't want money, what about food? That Penny's a mighty fine cook." He says, "I got food. I don't need no Coxwette food." You say, "What have you got against Coxwette folk anyway?" Wait, hold on. Is there something weird? No? No? Hold on. Okay, I got confused there. People were talking about stuff. Okay, so what have you got against Coxsweat folk anyway? Davy says, "A bunch of freaks. Empty-headed other folk is all they are." You say, "Other folk?" Davy says, "They ain't like me and my daughter. They don't think right. Must be all that inbreeding. And don't you get me started on that mare. Red-eyed monster, that one. Don't talk about nothing but her model ship." You try not to look confused. "What can I offer you to get interested in a deal on booze? Miss Penny's out for the stuff to liven up her restaurant. Oh, and some apples for the shop stop." Davy starts to laugh. "Stop, huh? Little Ellen, stop. She used to work for me, picking apples. Tell her hello for me. It's been a while. Want business for me? You can give me a night with one of them Coxwette floozies, and I'll think about opening trade." And sometimes you wish you didn't have to abandon your trusty M1911. Say, "Alright, man, I'll see what I can do." "But why would you want to spend a night with one of them, if you hate them so much?" Dave says, "Even freaks are good enough for fucking. Now get. Don't talk to my daughter again, neither. I don't think I gotta tell you what I'll do if I catch you talking to her." Davy wiggles his rifle a bit, and then walks back to the farmhouse. You go back to town, and walk into the Farting Ass. No one has changed the sign, and it makes you wonder if anyone has even noticed yet. The bell above the door rings. Oddly enough, you feel happy. God damn it, Loki. Oddly enough, you feel happy to see a friendly, familiar face. "Hey, Chucky! How y'all doing? What can I get you this morning?" " 'Gotta go deal with my cat. He's being a cunt." You think about how much you might like to rail that horse chick. And yeah, you would be way into that. You just add that to your little mission booklet. Yeah. But first, you need a better mission. You need horse puns. You need to think of a clever name for fucking Donna. You consider a roll in the hay, saddled up, mountain laid, and why the dong face. But none of those really strike your fancy. You decide to proceed to Penny with the news from Farmer Davy instead. You say, he's only willing to start trading with you if he gets some bedroom action from one of the ladies in town. Is that something you'd be into? Penny starts to laugh. Nope, not me. That guy's a Class A creep, hon. She says, I can't speak for the other ladies in town, but I don't think he'd be good for him either way. You say, can't say I blame you, baby. You'll have to ask around. Your stomach grumbles. Penny says, I heard that. She points to the breakfast menu on the wall. That's a good one. You think about a name for the horse mailing mission. Thoroughly bred. Penny asks, what you laughing about, hun? You say, nothing. Remembered something funny. It looks like breakfast is going to average out to about $4 to $5, depending on what you get. You have a while until your date, so there isn't really much of a rush. You don't have a bottomless supply of unbudgeted funds, though, so you might have to find a way to pick up some extra. Excuse me. You could stick around for breakfast and see what goes on, or you could head somewhere else. You buy a plate of breakfast. The people in this town weren't joking about this place. It is noticeably better than any breakfast you have had in recent memory. Before you even realize it, you have emptied your entire plate of scrumptious victuals. And the brass doorbell rings. Rachel enters the cafe, listening to music on an old cassette player and reading a chapter book. Penny says, Morning, sweetie. The usual? Rachel smiles nervously. Thank you. Bleh, that sucked. You look back down at your empty plate. You really don't feel like inviting the farmer to your porno shoot. In fact, that's the worst idea you've had since thinking about telling Sally that you fucked Ramona. You could do with a stop by the stop, though. Rachel walks by your table on the way to sit down. She has been reading a book apparently titled Papillon. Say, well, hello there, Rachel. Rachel says, Allo. You lower your voice a bit. How goes the dancing? Rachel doesn't look amused by that. You thought maybe it would get a smile, but she looks earnestly embarrassed. You decide to flirt with Rachel and say, hey, don't be embarrassed. I had a good time dancing with you. Give her a bright smile, remembering your sweaty, musicless dance in the alley. Rachel says, sorry, I cannot. Her accent is not quite French, and her voice is a slightly raspy alto. She attempts to say something, but ends up just wagging her fist in anger at the ground. Sorry, no, I cannot speak. Sorry. Rachel is deeply frustrated. Penny calls for her food. You make sure to intersperse plenty of goofy gestures as you speak in a vain attempt to get her to lighten up. You say, Dansez-vous encore? Rachel shakes her head and speaks a hasty paragraph of heavily accented French, covering her face and making a dismissive gesture with her other hand. You have never seen her so animated, and it makes you want to study your French more. Cannot think fast today. Please. This is about what you sound like before coffee also. You leave her to her breakfast and head to the shop stop. There aren't any shoppers there yet, but you hear someone speaking. It is probably a voice you've heard before, but you're not completely sure. You press your weird devil ear up to the wall beside the door. Yes, and I really appreciate it. It's a definite improvement. But you don't really look happy. Are you unhappy? There is a noticeable pause there, but you can't really see what's going on. No, I'm definitely happy. Yes, I love that attitude. Let's try to show it then, okay? Ellen says, yeah, okay, sorry. Don't apologize, just smile. Look at how Marcy and Penny do it. Oh, there it is. What the fuck are you even listening to? You go to knock on the door, but it unlocks before you get the chance. Mayor Susanna is exiting as you try to go in. Chuck! Hello! I hope you've enjoyed your stay so far. I don't have time for chit-chat, but it's nice to see you. The word vampire has gone through your head about 18 times in the past 5 seconds. Somehow, you must settle this. She's about to leave, but you might still be able to get her attention. So you say, before you go, I'd love to have the best-dressed woman in town give me her opinion on a new blazer I've been looking at. Sinner says, I'd love to, but I can't. Sorry, Chuck. I'd love to spend time with each and every person in town. If you need to talk to me about something, I can probably get you in for an appointment tonight around 6. You say, right, I understand. You're a busy woman. She says, hey. What do you say? Hey, is there a church in town, by the way? Sarah says, I'm afraid not. Sorry. That seems a bit odd. I don't mean to be rude, of course. Sarah says, we're a fearin' people, don't you doubt. We're just small. That's all. You say, fearin'? She says, you know, fearin' of him. And you squint. Who? And Susanna says, oh, you know, him. Have Lisa drop me a memo by 1 p.m. if you want to set up an appointment tonight. She straightens her hat with a kindly wave and leaves the shop stop. As she leaves, the mayor tucks her tail around her, but doesn't disappear mysteriously. In fact, you could sit and watch her walk all the way back to the library if you wanted. And actually, you will. God, that ass. It's like underwear model hot. God damn. You consider your options for what you should do next. You decide to go on into the shop stop. And you find Ellen standing behind the counter, where she always is. You say, hi, Ellen. Ellen says, hey. You say, hey, you used to work for Farmer Davy, right? She wipes her eye and sighs. Yeah, when I was 13, that was like 10 years ago. Oh God, I've been doing absolutely nothing for 10 years. Say, do you remember much about him? Ellen says, are you gonna buy anything? I mean, can I help you find anything? You don't feel like teaching Ellen about burglary, but you're also not sure if you should press with your questions about working at the apple farm. You change the subject. You say, no, nothing at the moment. Ellen looks at the room around, scratching her arm. You say, so, what would you rather be doing? Ellen says, huh? You say, with your life, as a job, whatever. Ellen says, oh, you'd just laugh if I told you. It's stupid. You say, it can't be possibly worse than what I used to do for a living. Oh, well, I always wanted to be an artist, like a painter, I guess. You consider trying to run some kind of forgery scam with Ellen, but those take some serious skill. You'd probably be better off just boosting a painting from some rich idiot's mansion. You wonder if the paintings in the Plath House are worth anything. You say, great, Ellen. That's great. Uh, yeah, I meant you could be doing art on the side. Maybe not as a career, but... Ellen says, wait, really? You think it's great? Do you want to see one of my paintings? You immediately regret expressing interest. So, yeah, sure. Okay, Ellen. Ellen looks slightly excited for the first time since you met her. She leads you to the storage room between the shop and the tailor's workshop. Inside stands a single easel. Ellen says, I call it Memories. Well, that's not creepy at all. Jesus Christ, it's worse than you could have imagined. You say, it's, evocative. Helen says, you don't like it. You say, it just kind of give me the creeps a little bit. Is that what you were going for? Ellen swallows and wrings her hands. Might as well. She sighs and covers the painting up with a piece of cloth. Is there anything else I can help you with? You're like, why does she gotta be so mopey? It's not your fault that she sucks. It doesn't look like she's going to give you any other work at the moment beyond the apple thing she gave you before. You think she might be a little cute, but overall, you'd rate her 6 to 10. You'd rate her a 6 out of 10. But you've done more for plainer. You say, look, maybe it's not my kind of thing, but I'm a damn Philistine, for one. But you can't really put too much value on whether people like your work or not. Ellen says, well, why do you say that? You say, I kind of used to be an actor. And that gives Ellen pause. You were an actor? You say, kinda? Yeah. She says, why'd you stop? You say, never mind, actually. Let's just say that what the people think can be pretty far from the truth. You feel like you're the one who needs to change the subject now. Neither you nor the deer wishes to talk about the past. You say, anyway, you'll get far by telling people like me to fuck off. Ellen says, God, that's a pretty great pickup line there, Chuck. Ellen says, what were you in? You say, what? He says, sorry, you said you were an actor. I'm just kind of curious, I guess. You say, forget I mentioned it. He says, oh, okay, sorry. Just keep painting, alright? You do not know why you're suddenly giving a pep talk to this dumpy cashier chick. You say, maybe you could paint a portrait of me. Nude, of course. Ellen blushes and turns her head away. I don't think that would be... And you say, I'm just joking, babe. One of these days I'm going to see you smile, and my heart's going to melt. One of these days. Ellen sighs and gives another fake smile. So, anyway, what was the mayor even doing here? It sounded like kind of a weird conversation you all were having. It says, oh, She comes by sometimes to check up on the place. She stops by everywhere in town pretty much. She kind of runs the store since my parents passed away. I own it technically, but I guess I don't really have much passion for it like she does. Say, ever thought about selling your art? How are you going to become a professional artist if you don't sell your art? Ellen shrugs. I should get back to work. If the mayor comes back, I need to be working. And smiling. You throw up your hands in defeat and take out your mission booklet to see what else you could do to kill some time before your big date. Maybe you could even manage to get your dick wet before 5 p.m. They don't call you the legend for nothing. You say, wait, whoa, what happened to your parents? Ellen gives you quite a look and a laborious sigh. They went swimming in the river after a barge passed by. Drowned. Apparently you can't do that. You say, holy shit, sorry to hear it. She says, is there anything I can help you with? You cough in your hand and fiddle with some of the chewing gum on the counter. Is the mayor a vampire? Ellen says, what? You say, nothing, gotta run. Stay beautiful. Because you've never gotten anywhere by being coy or politically correct. Besides, it's unhealthy to keep shit bottled up like that. As far as making her smile, you don't really care all that much. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. She's got to figure that out on her own, without dragging you down with her. Then again, these emotionally damaged girls tend to be an easy go if you can get them in the right spot. You'll put some more thought into it. Okay, oh, damn it. Lead a horse to water would have been a great name for that horse fucking mission. Anyway, you walk over to the library and find Susanna on her way out. Oh, Chuck! Long time no see. You think about booping her on the nose, but you don't know if you want to get your hand that close to her mouth. At least, not yet. You say, too long, ma'am. Susanna smiles. Her voice is silky and tickles the back of your neck. You charmer. I bet you use that on every mayor you meet. You say, you caught me. And say, hey, what brings you to the library anyway? Susanna says, I try to make the rounds at least every other week if I can, except for the Plath House. You say, why not? Old Ramona seems like she could use some company up there. Susan says, a dusty old place. I've allergies. You try to hide a look of confusion. You say, oh, yeah, I get 'em nasty when the pollen starts to fall. You know any place I can find an odd job to get a little pocket change by any chance? Susanna says, oh, I suppose I could think of something. There's nothing I love to see more than work ethic. She thinks for a moment. Her tongue flicks in and out as she does. Susan says, as you probably know, Rachel works for City Hall. I have recently assigned her a project for preserving the town's historic well, and if you're up for it, I'll ensure that you're paid for assisting. You say, count me in. Susan says, lovely. I need you to help Rachel fill the well up with concrete. Do be careful not to fall in. You get the mission, a well job done. Help Rachel fill the Coxwette well with concrete. So it says, I'll be assigning my assistant Lisa to oversee the project to ensure that no one is injured. I hope you're amenable to making an extra $150, Mr. Chuck. It's about noon now. 5 hours until your date. You might want to think about how you're going to dress for this, too. Say, yes, well, excellent. I will see you when the job is done for your payment. You watch the mayor leave again. You can easily find some old clothes in the Plath House. It barely even counts as stealing if nobody has worn it in 50 years. You decide to go ahead and get to work. You borrow an old get-up from the Plath House that conveniently fits you perfectly, though you still hope that very few people see you in this. Lisa and Rachel are here. It takes you a moment to realize that they are speaking French with one another. There is a cement mixer tumbling next to the well, and Rachel is hoisting sacks of dry cement as she talks. She looks quite jovial. You wonder if Lisa is ever not carrying a clipboard. You say, "Morning, ladies." You imagine Lisa naked, but still with a clipboard. It seems right. Anything else would be wrong. Lisa says, "Oh, good morning, sir." You say, "You can just call me Chuck, you know. No need to be so formal." Lisa says, "Yes, sir. Are you ready to begin with the well?" You say, "As ready as I'll ever be. No need to stop speaking French either if you don't want to. I don't mind." Lisa says, "Oh, we weren't talking about you or anything." You say, "What were you talking about?" "Just curious." Rachel says, "Music." Say, "Oh." You shoot a brief glance at Rachel, who is not smiling, but does not look angry. You notice a harness and pulley already set up by the well. You say, "So, when am I strapping up in that puppy?" Rachel says something to Lisa, who nods. He says, she says she will be the one in the harness." Rachel says something else, then turns around and picks up a bag of cement mix. Lisa says, "She doesn't want you to get hurt." You say, "I think it'd be safer to hoist me down there, don't you? Given that Rachel is so strong?" Lisa relays. Rachel speaks and gesticulates, looking at you with a small grin that disappears when you look. Lisa says, she says she supposes it would be easier to lift a phasme. I don't know this word. Rachel, comment dit-on? Rachel struggles to come up with the word in English and goes back to just dumping cement into the mixer. You say, "Rachel, you were speaking to me well enough earlier in the week." Lisa relays, and Rachel looks over her shoulder, her eyes widening and her back going straight. It is. For you, the word is difficult to come. She says something in a different language, and Lisa doesn't understand. "The cat has her tongue, sir," Lisa says, and then giggles and puts on her own hard hat. You think about this job. First, this might be an entrance to the catacombs, but you don't know if it is really. And even if it is, you don't know if it's the only one. You are also about to permanently seal it with concrete. And the mayor has posted a lookout who will probably tell her everything that happens. You are so close, and yet so far. You decide with Rachel and Lisa that you will lower down first to ensure there is nothing in the path of the concrete pour. You'll have to come to a consensus on exactly what to do when you reach the bottom. For all you know, there might be nothing down there at all. Rachel harnesses you up and starts to lower you down into the well. Aside from the impending darkness, this is way easier than you thought it would be. The well's cobblestone shaft is entirely dried out, making it easy to grip onto when you need it. It smells strongly of mildew and grows increasingly dank and humid as you reach the bottom. The line slacks when you touch the ground. Huh? There's still a little water down here. A tunnel extends away from the well shaft into darkness so thick that your flashlight cannot penetrate far enough in. There's a sign, which is marred and worn. The bolts holding into its cracked shaft have completely rusted through. Whatever message was on this sign has long since washed away. All of this was once underwater. You consider eating the random mushrooms that you see growing around, but you know better. You'll never do that again. You say, "Lisa! Lisa!" Lisa calls down, "Are you okay, sir?" You say, "I'm fine. There's a huge opening down here with a tunnel. We can't fill it in. It says, a tunnel? And she pauses for a moment. I'll go get the mare. You unhook the harness and proceed down the tunnel. It goes on for some time, longer than any feasible amount of concrete would be able to fill. Your flashlight barely fills the dripping darkness enough for you to see, and your boots are soaked through. Finally, you reach something solid, and you shine your light on it. You touch the pretzel with your hand, applying more pressure. It's no kind of button, it's just solid stone. You swear you can feel it pulsing, but when you concentrate, the sensation goes away. You do recognize the emblem as the same one on the maid uniform Ramona was wearing. Seeing the emblem has now given you an unwanted erection, so you turn around to think. It has no keyhole anywhere, and would look like solid stone were it not for the seam down the center. You can't think of a way through, short of a sledgehammer or some dynamite. There is no way to rotate the symbol. It is simply embossed into the stone surface. There are no indications that the shapes need to be filled with anything, but you will keep that in mind. You close your eyes and place your hand on the pretzel. You picture Ramona's smiling face, her lopped ears, and her big cold nose. You remember what she felt like from the inside in explicit detail. The smell of booze on her breath, and her polite little laugh. You see Sally's big eye teeth, and the little tufts of bangs on her head, and the way she leans over when she stands. You conjure the image of Lorraine that will forever be burned into your memory, that flickering, bending, uncanny image of a dead young woman. They could be standing right behind you right now, not saying a word, and you would know it. The stone pulses beneath your hands. It feels like a dryer running in slow motion. But you realize that what you are feeling is merely your own heartbeat in your hand, and nothing happens. You think that the circular section in the middle of the door connects to the right side and that the seam is on the left, but it is closed so tightly that it's hard to tell. Beyond brute force, there's probably no way you will be opening this right this moment. You are suddenly met with vivid mental image of a navy blue sofa moving closer to you, and many indistinguishable voices. You can see the fibers of the sofa. There's a gold cord embroidery for trim and mahogany arms, and its feet is a rough chamois texture, and the friction is hot against your skin, shockingly hot, and the backrest is rubbing your arm, and you are rolling and sinking into the cushions. Lisa says, "Sir, are you still down there? Hello?" Your heart is racing. What were you just thinking about? You say, "Yeah, I'm way down in here. What's up?" Lisa says, "The mayor says we'll need to make a concrete cap to put over the top." You pause and straighten your hard hat, walking back towards the well shaft. "How is that going to preserve the well?" Lisa says, "It will keep people from falling in, sir." You strap up and tug on the rope. Rachel pulls you back out of the well. It looks like she's been working on something, which she returns to when you are safely aground. Some kind of wooden housing for the concrete plug, by the looks of it. You watch her build it up and get an idea for the thickness of the planned cap, which is about 3 feet. You could try to convince the mayor that it would be unsafe, but she does not strike you as a lady who is prone to compromise. Lisa has returned from across the street, trailing behind the mayor. The snake lady looks slightly annoyed to have been pulled away from her rounds. She says, "I hear there's been a little roadblock in our project." And Lisa says, "The well's open underneath, Miss Mayor." "That's what Chuck said, at least. We can't fill it up, so we're making a cap." And Susanna says, "There must have been a cave-in underground." She pauses to consider the options. "Plug it up, then. You say, actually, I don't think it was a cave-in. It looked more like a man-made, the water must have leached out of the well and created a cave-in. You say, I saw a tunnel down there. You take off your hat. There was a door at the end of it. Lisa and Rachel both stare at you. Susanna tilts her head, and her smile fades away. And what was behind that door? You say, I couldn't open it? It was solid stone, but it looked historical. Maybe that's something we need to preserve, like an entrance to the catacombs? And Susanna says, catacombs? Your peripheral vision begins to fade, and your face feels tingly. There are no catacombs beneath the library. Oh, I still need to visit the bakery today. Get to plugging up that well, folks. The mayor departs. I'm going to get an almond Danish. Oh, I can't wait. Your heart is racing, and a cold sweat has replaced the hot sweat already soaking your overalls. Does she always react like that when the subject comes up? Lisa looks up from her clipboard and says, Like what, sir? You consider vampire hunting precautions, but vampires aren't real. If they were real, they would be all over the news, they'd be all over academia, and they probably would have had their own civil rights movement by now. You're still a little bit in doubt that you saw a ghost. Maybe you're just blasted on DMT and have lost all concept of time and space. Again. Fucking Julia. God damn it. You don't even know whether to take the task of finding another gun seriously right now. Either way, you've got a job to do and a cat to screw, so you'd better get to it. You help Rachel lower the concrete cap onto the well, sealing away its bizarre secrets. And you complete the mission. A well job done. Help Rachel fill the Coxwette well with concrete. The job is finished, and you are pretty tired and sweaty. Lisa says, "Thanks for your help today, sir." She hands you and Rachel each a commission of $150. It's a little after 3 p.m. You decide to head back to the Plath house. It's as old and dark and creepy as ever. And Ramona is sitting on the sofas in the grand fireplace and seems surprised to see you back home. She's still in her pajamas. "Oh, hello. Are you back for the evening?" She makes you anxious in a way that few people have before, but you're not going to let it ruin your date. The shower helps to calm your nerves somewhat. And freshly cleaned, you return to the living room. And Ramona's still there. She says, "Chuck." You say, So Ramona says, "Were you wearing overalls from here?" You say, No, just my normal clothes." And Ramona says, "You can borrow clothes, but please ask first. Some of them are keepsakes." You say, "Right, sorry." And you pause to cross your legs. "I spoke with the mayor today, and I was curious. Is there any reason she doesn't visit here?" Ramona sips, setting aside her copy of The Bell Jar. "The Plaths and the Starks had a falling out a long time ago. It's just old history. Nothing serious, some land dispute or some such." You say, "Land dispute?" Ramona says, "Something like that, yes." You say, "Did the Plaths used to control the town?" Ramona looks more stern. "We founded the town. There would be no Coxwette without my ancestors, Nelson Plath in particular." She looks up towards the enormous looming portrait of Nelson above the fireplace and sips again. You say, "So they had access to the catacombs then?" Ramona turns to look at you so fast that her ears flop. "How do you know about the catacombs?" You say, "Sally, mostly. Naz mentioned them too." You say, I saw the entrance when I was helping to plug up the well today. Ramona says, the well? The well! Oh, of course! Why didn't I... It's plugged? Sealed? Did the mayor order this? You nod. She says, did she seem strange as she spoke with you? You think back. You have a vague memory of her being serious or intimate or something? Dark? Silhouetted? You say, kind of. Something weird about her eyes, I guess? Not really. Ramona touches her forehead and sips again. Good. Okay. She stands and goes towards the kitchen. She leaves her drink on the side table. Ramona says, can I get you anything to eat? You look like you might be on the way out. You really should eat, sweetie. You're too skinny. You say, I'm good. Thanks. Ramona looks concerned, but doesn't press it. She enters the kitchen. You say, I saw the door to the catacombs, I think. She pokes her head back out, but I couldn't get it open. Ramona said, only Plathbud can open it. She says, as if she's reciting some old mantra. And you say, you knew about the catacombs all along? And Ramona says, of course I knew, sweetie. It's where my ancestors are buried and where half the town's history lies. The Starks sealed off the entrance in the library basement. And they sealed off the other entrance now, too. You say, so that's it, then? It's lost forever? That can't be the end of it. And I says, I don't know why you're suddenly so worried about that. Where are you going tonight, anyway? You say, it's kind of a workplace appreciation thing. My boss is taking me for dinner at the Farthing Passion Cafe, but I'm paying. Everyone says, so a date? And you say, no, not really a date. You prepare a lie. You say, I insisted on paying because it symbolizes my newfound financial independence. And Ramona says, where do you work? The bakery, right? You say, yeah, I do deliveries. Marcy's great. Sometimes kind of goes off in her own little world, though, if you know what I mean. Ramona smiles and says, I rightly do. You hand Ramona the $30 in the envelope that Lisa gave you after the well job. You say, there's rent, too. Ramona holds the envelope and says, thank you. It is good to have you here, Chuck. In spite of all the things, you do keep it lively. Enjoy your dinner. And say, I'm happy to keep it more interesting for you any time. You go to tickle her cheek, but she draws away. Don't, please. You pull your hand back and scratch your head. Ramona looks at you, and for a moment almost looks like she wants to undress you. She fades back into her weary, worn frown and turns her back to you. I need to do some cleaning. Have a good time. Ramona goes upstairs, leaving her book and her drink behind. You shrug, mostly to yourself, and start to think about what you will wear. You have one presentable shirt among your personal possessions. It is a beige button-up shirt, and Ramona has left it freshly washed and pressed on your bed. You decide to check out what might be in Ramona's drink. It's gin. You take a couple of sips and put on your best shirt. You're ready for your date now, and you'll be just in time, even at a leisurely pace. It's a balmy evening, and the Farden ass is alive with relaxed conversation and the ring of silverware. No sign of Marcy inside, though, at least as far as you can tell. Things are shaping up to be a 100% shenanigan-free evening with your boss, Chuck! Over here! You say, babe, that's the freshest look I've ever seen. Marcy bounces rapturously, but the file viewer I have set up for this stream to make this work efficiently doesn't show GIFs animated. Oh, that's so sweet! And I know sweet. She slows to a stop. Well, come on then. You want to score, don't you? You say, you know, a good table, and he don't take no reservations. You and Marcy head inside for what you expect to be a very long evening. Now that you think about it, you've never been on a proper date before. Ever. One night stands? 2-week flings? Sure. But never a bona fide sit-down date. When you look at Marcy, she smiles. It's a cute, shy smile, without pretense. You don't really even feel a strong need to posture. It's kind of nice. Penny approaches with a notepad in your hand. It says, "Wow, well, aren't y'all cute? What's the occasion?" Marcy says, "Chuck and I are on a date." You seize up suddenly. It sounds wrong. You say, "For work. A work date." Penny says, "Uh-huh. Well, you better keep an eye on this one, Marcy Pie. I might just snatch him up to work for me." Marcy says, "Oh, don't joke about that, Auntie. Lord knows one of us needs the help." P says, "We both need the help. What can I get for y'all?" The menu is very diverse, from traditional Southern comfort food to upscale surf and turf. You are sure that she could fix something up on request if it came to that. Apple pie, of course, is conspicuously missing from the dessert menu. You say, "Country fried steak for me, please." "Come 'em right up, hun." Marcy says, "And I'll have the catfish po' boy with sour slaw. Thanks, Auntie." "Anything to drink for you two?" Marcy says, "Sweet tea for me, Chuck." You say, "Coke and just water, thanks." Penny scrawls and heads back to the kitchen. For really the first time, you have time to chat with Marcy about pretty much anything you want. This is it. This is dating. No shenanigans. It's not even that hard. You decide to strike out a conversation about apples. It's a decent icebreaker before you get into the heavy stuff. You say, "So, no apple pie, huh?" Marcy says, "What?" You say, "There's no apple pie here, or at your bakery. Isn't that a big thing around here?" Marcy says, "I imagine. That farmer's got the only apple grove in the county, and he won't give up his seed." Gosh, what I wouldn't give for some of his seed. Right. Well, I talked to him this morning, actually. Marcy says, "You talked to him? He's mean, right?" You shrug. Nothing I ain't seen before. But he does seem unwilling to give up his apples. He says, "If the shop stop started carrying apples, I could make a mean deal of new pastries. Turnovers, crumble, brown Betty, apple pandowdy, apple strudel, apple croissant, apple vol au vent, apple pie, apples and biscuits a la mode, apple dumplings, baked apples and nutmeg, apple Danish, apple streusel coffee cake, apple tart, apple bread, apple muffins," and she goes on listing pastries for longer than you would normally allow anyone to. But watching her painted up lips flapping so happily gives you a weird feeling in your stomach. And you finally interrupt. "That I'd love to see. Maybe someday soon you'll have all the apples you need." You wonder just how badly Marcy wants those apples. You say, "Hey, I saw the mayor today, too. She said she stopped by the bakery." "Oh, yeah, she picked up an almond Danish. Sure would have been might fine with some apples in it." You cut in before she loses focus thinking about apples. You say, "Did she seem kind of odd to you?" Marcy says, "Nah, just like normal. She's awful charismatic, and I do tend to ramble on, so no, nothing out of the ordinary. She did ask about you, though." You say, "What did she ask about?" Marcy says, "Oh, just how you're doing, if you're working hard. Don't worry, I put in a good word for you. You say, speaking of the bakery, your stuff is delicious. Where'd you learn to bake? Marcy says, oh, just practice mostly. Food's always kind of been in the family. But he says, order up. She says it, even though she's also the one delivering the food herself. Penny sets a plate in front of you, and you are assaulted by the delicious, savory smell. The country fried steak comes with a ladle of steaming gravy and a thick, crunchy breading speckled with seasonings. Next to it is a generous pile of whipped mashed potatoes with chopped scallions and black pepper, along with a mess of juicy, buttery green beans. There is a fresh-baked biscuit on the plate, too, something you've never seen made at Marcy's place. Your mouth waters and your heart races in anticipation of scarfing down this food. Is scarfing something to do on a date? Probably not. Subsisting on Ramona's cooking has made you lust for this diner food more and more. She sets down a sandwich in front of Marcy, sprung with greens and weighed down by a thick fillet of river catfish. On the side is a colorful slaw with a bright, tangy smell, and a small pile of French fries fresh from the oil. Following conventional wisdom, you do not segue directly from apples to vampires. Marcy says, well, what about you? Gosh, you ain't told me a lick about yourself since you started working for me. This is the part of date that you dreaded. You tend to drink, get lewd, do drugs, or do anything else to avoid talking about your past. You begin eating to give yourself some time to think. You don't really want to reveal too much for obvious reasons, but you don't really have any idea how much is too much. You think about maybe trying to tell the bad parts of your past through some strategic innuendo, and you could probably pull that off. So you think back, which is something you try not to do. You think back, and you find shame and frustration and humiliation, public humiliation, and failure. So much failure. You have not wanted drugs so badly in a long time. You say, I don't want to. Why do I have to? And your mother says, I'm sorry, sweetie. You're perfect. You're just Mommy's perfect little angel. I just didn't know you hated Mommy and Daddy so much. And you say, what? No, Mom. I don't hate you or Dad. No, I don't. Then Mom says, then why do you want to ruin Mommy and Daddy's life? I don't. She points behind you and your heart sinks. And don't even think about crying. Remember what Mommy showed you when you start to cry? You nod dutifully, and you start to breathe in and out really hard to keep the tears back. So it's time to tell Marcy a little bit about yourself. You read the thoughts of your life and come up with some sugar-coated retellings for Marcy's simple, happy mind. You say, I had kind of a weird childhood. And Marcy says, let me guess, one of those people who had to move around a lot? You say, well, yeah, but that's not what made it weird. When I was 8, my mom signed me up for this Young Stars audition. I was supposed to go sing the Rainbow Connection or some shit. But when I got on stage, I knocked over the mic, and it made this awful noise. So I just kind of went, oh, shoot! And if you'll imagine an 8-year-old version of me doing that after a mic feedback. Aww. You say, uh-huh. Well, the crowd went nuts, and after that, I sort of became the aw shoot kid. I was on commercials and sitcoms and talk shows and pretty much anywhere that they could run me. And where he says, that's kind of neat. You were an actor? And you were suddenly full of regret for revealing this. Marcy says, well, gosh, you must have been pretty wealthy after all that, huh? The goddamn money. You remember your parents dancing in the living room, looking at the first royalty check. After that, your life became a hellish march of awkward auditions and desperate grasps at remaining culturally relevant. You started to develop a fear of desks and cameras with little lights on them and stupid curtains, because they just reminded you that you were not an actor, just a stupid, lucky kid. But your parents refused to believe that. Every time you had a bad audition, your dad made you stay in the trailer. A dank, smelly trailer full of boxes and shit that your parents towed behind the truck as you were traveling across the country. That became the quiet place when you could think about what you wanted to be when you grow up. Anything but an actor. At least you had plenty of money to go to college. That goddamn money. Chuck? You say, huh? You alright? You say, yeah, I am. See, your parents were gamblers. When you turned 18, they kicked you out of the house without 2 dimes to rub together. There has to be something else you could tell Marcy. Or maybe just compliment her tits or something. Say, I just never made a career out of it. Marcy looks puzzled. You didn't like it? It sounds like a dream job or something. Well, not a dream job like bacon, but close. You realize that Marcy is a happy person, and you probably cannot explain this kind of thing to her anyway. I just went into other stuff, various things, working in stores, that kind of thing. I actually have a lot of bad memories from that. Don't really like to talk about it. Marcy looks puzzled again, but doesn't really show any compassion. Well, one thing about bad memories is that they're just memories. That's how I see it anyway. Lots of bad stuff's happened to me, but I've whipped every bad day I ever had. It seems bad in the moment, but I'm always on my feet still at the end. You know what I mean? You look down at your food. It's right at the perfect eating temperature now, and the gravy hasn't even congealed. You respond, no. Marcy says, oh well. Penny returns to the table. Penny says, how's everything, cuties? You say, it's great. Thanks, Penny. Marcy says, yeah, Auntie, it's good. Real good. I mean, pretty good. And Penny raises her eyebrows. I mean, there's a certain point when you can stop kneading the bread dough. Penny says, pardon? Say, oh, nothing. I mean, you're the cook and I'm a baker, right? That's why you get your weekday stuff from the bakery, right? Penny says, sweetie, I know how to bake. You say, I know. I'm sure you do. And I know how to cook, too. He says, the girl who I watched use mild cheddar in her macaroni and cheese. Sweetie, you all stick to the oven, why don't you? Or says, and you stick to the skillet, right? I mean, it's delicious. If the shoe fits on, and go, oh, Jesus Christ, what is even happening right now? And they are definitely not arguing about you. You say, ladies, relax. You both belong in the kitchen. Marcy and Penny both stop and look at you, and Penny says, excuse me? You begin to sweat. Not like that, because you're both masters of your crafts. Anyone else running the kitchens of this town, it'd be a far worse off place. And to your relief, both of them smile. Marcy says, you're just too sweet, Chuck. Penny says, yeah, talking right from the heart. How about that? Penny says, can I get y'all anything for dessert? You say, nope. You feel that you must interject before Penny brings out some kind of pastry. You are sure that her pastries, while probably not as delectable as Marcy's, are still very good. But you don't want to ignite another snipping match after this one is cooled. You say, no dessert for me, at least. Plus, we still got some leftover welcome cake back at the bakery we need to finish off. Marcy gasps. Oh, you're right. Chuck just loves my cake, Auntie. He'd eat it all night if I let him. You say, yeah, I'll eat her cake and have it too. And Penny giggles. Marcy says, see? Chuck loves my pastries. You say, it's true. Nothing like some cat buns. He says, oh, Chuck, oh Lord, you're terrible. You don't feel the need to ask about Marcy's phrasing choices at this point. The business matters, on the other hand. You say, either you ladies considered supplying food to the Plath House? It's hard to run a bed and breakfast without breakfast. Marcy says, no. You know, they say that place is haunted, right? You say, I've heard rumors along those lines. Yes, but I'm the one making the deliveries anyway. Marcy says, it still gives me the creeps. But he says, Ramona's just the sweetest woman, but she doesn't get out much. I doubt she'd even be open to it. You could ask her, I suppose. Don't know if the mayor'd be too happy about it, on account of the feud and all. Maybe it would attract some more out-of-town visitors if the place was more presentable. You've sure been a barrel of monkeys, Chuck. You say, and there's also still a matter of the... And you make a cocktail-sipping gesture. Penny nods. Well, you know my answer to that damn farmer's proposition. And she lowers her voice and leads in towards you. And if you let that man anywhere near my niece, you're gonna wake up with a spatula up your ass. You hear? You say, there's only room enough for one scoundrel in this town, ma'am. And I think I'm doing just fine. You take a drink of water. Penny rolls her eyes, but smiles and pinches Marcy's cheek. Says, just take good of my sweet Marcy pie. She's all I got. Marcy says, Annie, I'm trying to have a date here. You say, I know. I'll leave you to it. Oh, and if Mr. Chuck makes his delivery tonight, make sure he wraps it up. You know, so it don't get cold. Penny looks right at you and winks, and then goes back to the kitchen. Annie, Marcy calls after her. Annie, there ain't no deliveries on the weekends. You know that. She rolls her eyes as well and shrugs helplessly. Sometimes I swear she's just trying to get my goat. Oops, forgot to cycle the image there. See, Marcy, she's not talking about an actual delivery. She's talking about sex. Marcy freezes and begins to sweat. Marcy says, sex? You say, yep. She says, you mean like when you get naked? And she says, mm-hmm. And Marcy says, and she's talking about you and me? You say, yes'm. She says, getting naked? And you nod. And Marcy says, excuse me, I gotta use the ladies' room. You say, it's just a joke, Marcy. Don't take it too, but she's gone already. Rushed off to the restroom. 15 minutes pass. You walk up to the serving counter. You say, so your joke kind of made Marcy run off. Penny says, joke? You say, the whole wrap up the delivery thing. He says, oh, that? Shucks, hun, I forgot I even said it. I'm so used to Marcy not getting those things. You say, I kind of, explained it to her. Penny says, oh, well, she's still in there. Only window's too small for even a kid to fit through. You say, are you particularly worried about her escaping? Penny says, she was an escape artist when she was a kid. And a teenager. Wouldn't put it past her now. You say, can you maybe go talk to her? Penny says, she's fine, I'm telling you. Sometimes she's just a little squeamish about that. Just go talk to her. You knock gently on the door to the ladies' room, feeling kind of awkward doing so. You say, Marcy? You alright? And after a moment she answers, I'm fine. You're not sick or anything, right? She says, no, I ain't sick. I'm sorry. I went and ruined our date. I don't want you to see me looking like this. I'm sorry. Say, nothing's ruined, Marcy. I promise. I'm having a great time. Come on out, please. I want to see you. I'm not expecting anything, really. Just a fun... Marcy opens the door. I know, it's alright. I should probably just go home. You say, what? Marcy says, it's just... Just what? Well, I'm supposed to be your boss, and now you see me acting all scared and panicked and nervous, and you'll never respect me again. And what? Over nothing. You say, I have tons of respect for anyone with the guts to... You almost choke on the words, thinking of all of the people you've stolen from to run a business. I mean, hell, I couldn't do it, much less bake. Or says, well, thank you. I don't really know what came over me. I just got to thinking as soon as you said, you know. Sex? Uh-huh. Your auntie, well, she was just joking around. I know we'll just be laughing about this whole thing down the road, too, and I hope you know I'm not expecting anything from you. Even if I'm paying for the date, I don't expect... Marcy giggles, nervously, but with a real smile. Oh, Chuck, I'll pay for the date. Don't you worry about that. So you say, oh, so you're saying I should be more worried about what you're expecting, then. Hmm? That coaxes a smile out of Marcy. Do you want to come eat some of my cake? You share a laugh, and she seems to relax. Seriously, though, I would like some of that cake. When the bill arrives, Marcy takes a large wad of cash from her purse, tipping her aunt generously. Penny gives her a hug and a smooch. Don't flip your waiters, folks. Tip your waiters. Don't flip them. You leave the cafe with Marcy. So, what are you expecting from this? Marcy thinks for a bit. I don't rightly know, I suppose. She tries to wipe off the rest of the makeup. I guess I went crazy for a bit because I wasn't expecting, that to come up. I just ain't used to talking about it, so it scares me a little bit. You say, oh, you never even think about it? Marcy turns red and looks over her shoulder. Well, I'm awful embarrassed to say so. Well, gosh, sometimes it's all I can think about. You laugh out loud. You and me both. It's now dark, but it's still pretty warm out. Coxwette is lit by stars, brighter than you've ever been able to see before. You lock arms with Marcy and walk across the street. The innuendo fades into the background as you and Marcy recount some of your most absurd tales. And Marcy says, didn't know that it was like, so flammable. It's flour. It's just normal flour. I had no fur on my face for 6 weeks. You could see the one side where it was all burned off. Chick said, yeah, something similar happened to me, but with bourbon whiskey and a butane lighter. Second worst birthday I had as a kid. Marcy says, what was the worst? The first one. Marcy coughs and then walks around the side bakery. Best to come in the back door. You and you giggle. She fumbles for her keys and unlocks a screen door that leads directly into the kitchen. It still smells of bread, butter, and vanilla. Marcy flips on the lights and takes what is left of your welcome cake out of the walk-in fridge. It's a little stale by now, but still better than a lot of cakes you've had fresh. You don't talk for a while, but you keep making eye contact and giggling. It almost feels like a conversation. You sure are glad Jimmy the Noose isn't watching right now. You look like a total bitch pussy, but in the moment, it doesn't really bother you. And you complete a mission. You complete the mission. A date? You mean those dried fruits? You take a Coxwette citizen on a date. You also wonder when anal comes in. On the third date, perhaps? You eat just an irrational amount of welcome cake. You'll have to think of some hot lines to get Marcy to warm up to you. She's a business lady with a one-track mind. Like, seriously, exactly one track. She's squeamish about even the S word, but seems to be opening up a little bit since the date. You decide to gossip, so you'll have to ask, decide what you want to gossip or ask about. But you also decide to have another piece of cake. You ask, do you have any idea why Ellen is so mopey all the time? Marcy goes, oh, I know. Isn't she just the biggest Debbie Downer you ever saw? I don't think I've seen that girl smile in 10 years. Or ever, really. At least since I was a teenager. She used to be kind of a fun girl, always drawing cartoons and going sitting by the river up there. You say she wasn't always like that? Marcy says, not so far as I know. She never was the same after she started working at the apple farm. Boy, it sure was sweet that he let her take home a dozen apples a week, though. She always gave them to me. So you and Ellen knew each other when you were kids? She goes, well, she's a good deal younger than me, but I remember when she was working on the farm. We weren't best friends or anything, but I always liked her cartoons and the apples she brought by. Sometimes she was crying when she got back, but I always just thought it was because of the hard work. Auntie always gave her hot soup and told me not to bother her. Is that crying? You don't say. You suppose you'll have to have another chat with Miss Ellen Stopp. Explaining your thoughts on this to Marcy might not be wise, considering how uncomfortable she is with playful sexuality. You can fix that, though. You just need to coax the panther out of the kitten. You've seen her before, so it shouldn't be too hard. You say, so I can honestly say that I've never met a better baker than you. Do you have any other amazing talents? Marcy says, well, I've always been awful good at sneaking out of my auntie's house. You say, so she mentioned. Marcy says, yeah, I can get real bendy when I need to. You say, I bet you could put your legs all the way behind your shoulders, huh? And Marcy goes, well, sure I could. But why on earth would I ever want to do that? You maintain that pelvic thrusting would be too much, but you do attempt to impress her with your eyebrow control. Marcy does not reply verbally, but you can tell by her expression that she is impressed. Unfortunately, this is a GIF, and it does not actually animate in this viewer, so you don't get to see it unless you actually go read the quest. You are open to the idea of getting another gun, and would feel a lot more comfortable if you had one. You don't even know where to look around here for a gun, though. Who besides the police captain and maybe the farmer would even have a gun? You lean back in your seat, a little upset by your homicidal thoughts about killing Farmer Davy. You've left a few people roughed up, but you've never actually had to shoot anyone. You'd consider a robbery that left anyone dead to be a colossal failure. You don't even have enough basis to convince yourself that this horse actually even deserves to be hurt, much less die. But you sure do hope that this Ellen thing isn't what it looks like. Marcy says, Chuck, is something wrong? You stopped waggling. You say, nah, nothing's wrong. Just sick from the sugar. Marcy says, oh, I know. I never seen anyone eat cake like that. And you come to realize that you have opened up to Marcy in a way you haven't with anyone else. Should you be concerned about that? You look back at her again. Maybe it's time to end this date. You think about any feelings you might be having, but as a man, you have no feelings. Arousal is not a feeling, it's a way of life. You put on the easy kind of smile for when you don't really feel like smiling. You say, Marcy, I've had a great evening. The best I can remember. Marcy says, oh, well, is it over already? You say, the evening is all that's over. Marcy rubs her arm. I suppose I should rest up for work then. You say, I'll be sure to stop by in the morning. She smiles. You say, so, how about a kiss? Marcy says, a kiss? Gosh. Marcy's response sounds almost rehearsed, as if she had been waiting for you to ask. She presents her cheek, but you say, guess again. Marcy, well, gosh, I can't wait for work tomorrow. You decide that playing the slow game would be the best. If she's chasing you, the whole thing's in the pocket. The only thing left to do is figure out where you want to go tonight. It's almost 8 p.m. You say goodbye to Marcy. She is happy. Unfortunately, there is no bar in town, as alcohol is illegal apparently in this entire godforsaken county. You are only able to get into Marcy's bakery because she unlocked the door, and the cafe is probably closing up before long. Coxwette's a sleepy town that closes up shop early by the look of things. You walk westward behind the bakery, past the looming fence surrounding the warehouse. The woods are made up of twisted, old-growth oak trees and little underbrush. The moonlight penetrates the thick canopy. You swear there's something out there, but it's hard to tell. You watch for a bit, but if anything was there, it's gone now. You think about going out and looking in the woods, but bitch, you ain't got night vision. It sure would have made robbing houses a lot easier. You take a reasonable head and go back into Coxwette for now. As you are walking through the town square, you notice that there's no street lamps. With the stores closed, the only light comes from the moon and the surrounding residential homes. If you ever want to explore the woods in the future, you'll probably want to revisit them in the flashlight. And yes, it is definitely a good thing that neither ghosts nor vampires are real. You swiftly walk back to the Plath house. Sally is on one of the sofas, wearing a dark nightgown and drowsily reading a novel. She has no makeup on and looks recently showered. You smile at... Oops. You smile at Sally, but you don't disturb her. She's having trouble holding her head up, and will probably sleep on the couch for at least most of the night. You take a shower and lie down in bed, but sleep does not come right away. It has been a long and upsetting day that has left you a lot to think about. Your date with Marcy was a lot more enjoyable than you expected, but you keep finding yourself thinking of the catacombs and of Ellen. You eventually fall asleep, though. It was full of restless dreams, but it was technically sleep. It is Sunday, and again, you are free to go about the town. And I'm going to need a short intermission and enjoy the tunes. You've noticed you never really hear anyone talk about church. And for a small southern town, this does strike you as extremely odd. You can't really complain though, because you always hated church. You could go buy a flashlight to get into the woods, but that would of course mean talking to Ellen at the shop stop. You haven't seen that annoying turtle since last week, so maybe you could find him again. You get out of bed, you brush your teeth, and you walk down one of the Platt House's over-the-top oak staircases. Ramona is downstairs. You'll head out to the train station and the bakery, but you're going to stop by the train station first since it's closer to the Platt House. You've never actually stopped to take a decent look at this part of the town. The station is a single platform, devoid of life. You've never actually seen a train stop here. In fact, the one you jumped out of just rolled right past as if the platform didn't even exist. There is no sign of Harold Powell. There's also nobody manning the train platform. It's just empty. You go beyond the station to about the spot you jumped from last week, and there are no bodily remains to be found, so you're pretty sure you didn't die when you jumped out. The spot where you landed still has some flattened grass, but that's about it. The tracks extend out of sight, but otherwise there's nothing out here. You can feel a light wind, but it's quiet as a closet. This country-ass town is far out in the sticks. The only thing resembling a train's schedule seems to be in windblown disrepair. You can't make out the times. You call out for Harold, but he doesn't seem to be around right now. You decide to go look around in the woods, entering through the same spot that you had last night. The daylight doesn't do much to make it less eerie, as it is about as quiet as the train tracks to the north. Still, at least you can see this time. It doesn't look like there's anyone out here, but you could still explore deeper if you wish. You decide to walk deeper into the woods. The trees here are larger and older, and there's a vague trail hewn into the underbrush. There is no one here, and the spot where you thought you saw someone last night harbors no evidence. Or at least, it doesn't look like there's anyone out here, but you hear what sounds like a faint bugle, or some kind of horn. It might have been a bird, or an elk or something, though. You keep walking. The source of the sound is difficult to trace. Sometimes it seems to grow fainter even as you move closer to it, only to crop up in a completely different direction. It doesn't stop you, though. Over time, you do feel like you're getting closer to the source. But training your ears on the distant sound nearly distracts you from something disturbing as the immaculate silence directly around you. There is a sound, and it is close. Very close. You hear breathing. You whirl around with the right hook, like any reasonable person would when sneaked up on. It misses. Jesus Christ, dude! The Lord's name you utter, and on the Sabbath. Old Scratch, a fiend will meet his just end. His voice sounds like it's coming out of an old tape recorder, and you can't see anything moving beneath his ridiculous KKK sheet. You decide to yank off the sheet, shouting, "Take that thing off, you racist fuck!" Nice try, Naz. Seriously, it's a great costume, but I can hear the tape recorder. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth such as in heaven. See, Naz, god damn it! You break into a run, but you feel a nip in your back. Over the sounds of your running and struggling, the creature's voice is calm and grainy. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our misdeeds, as we forgive those who do us wrong. Lead us not into temptation. Deliver us from evil. Old Scratch, begone from these woods. Aim it, crack! You are momentarily deafened by a catastrophic noise that shakes the trees. The oppressive grip over your limbs and head loosens. When you look up, the thing is gone. Fuck! Holy shit! Thank you! I thought I was gonna die! Yeah, well, you probably woulda. What was that thing? Dave says, fuck Fano. I ain't seen one in damn near 15 years. Nothing? I was just walking around. You've seen these before? And what were you doing out here? Davey says, following you. You say, why? 'Cause you're on my land, dipshit. You say, sorry, I'll leave right now. But what? Jesus Christ, why is that thing here? I just said I ain't got a clue. Gun don't kill him neither. Scares him bad, but it don't kill him. Now get, before I have a misfire. As much as you want to know the answers to all of these questions, asking Davey a string of long-winded questions right now seems like a surefire way to get shot. You sprint back to Coxwette without stopping for anything else. Now you notice there's some strange things hanging out of your back, and they're starting to sting badly. You pull them out. It looks like some kind of syringe or dart, but made up of, like, you don't really know how to describe it. Organic stuff? The limp tubing hanging out of the back is made of veiny bluish tissue that resembles intestines. The barrel of the syringe portion looks like flesh, and the needle looks to be made from thin bone. You've never seen anything like this before. Where will you go? You think about leaving town, but it doesn't really seem viable or wise. You say, for one, you're somebody on the outside. You've found this tiny isolated sanctuary where erasing your past is as easy as swallowing a poster. Aside from that, well, what are you gonna do? Sit and wait for a train forever, or just start walking out into creepy, monster-ridden wilderness? You're not in horrible pain, but the spots on your back where the needle struck do hurt. Your shoulders and neck ache from where the beast was pulling you, and you are lightly bruised where his massive fingers clutched you, but you don't feel particularly poisoned. Coxwette is creepily quiet right now, but at least you don't hear that bugle anymore. You decide to go see Ramona. Not wanting to startle her with the sudden sight of blood, you enter the packed house like, Dunna! You say, I don't want to alarm you, ladies, but I've been stabbed. I'll be fine, but my cardigan might not make it. When I goes, oh lordy, Chuck, are you alright? So I goes, what on earth? Someone stabbed you in Coxwette? Who on earth would stab you? Who was it? You say, I got attacked in the woods by some weird wrinkly guy reciting scripture. Ramona says, Sally, go upstairs and get some towels and bandages. Sally goes, Mama, I want to hear what's... Go. Now. You reach into your pocket to pull out the flesh syringe. It's turned into a pasty mush that smells like jizz and vinegar. The bone tip remains completely intact, though. Say, here's what's left of what stabbed me, though it was more of a poke than a stab. Ramona says, Are you alright? You say, I'm fine. You're shaken up badly, but you try your hardest not to let it show. And Ramona says, Stay out of the woods, Chuck. Please. I don't want you getting hurt. You say, What in the hell was that thing? Ramona looks away and shrugs. You shake the syringe tip at her. Am I poisoned? What the fuck is this? And Ramona says, How long was it in you? You say, I don't know. A few seconds? And Ramona says, Sally returns with supplies and begins to treat your wounds. Ramona walks off into the kitchen. Sally says, Golly, you poor thing. Lie down here. We'll get you bandaged up. Oh, Chuck, you poor thing. You say, Aw, I've had worse. Say, you're pretty good with your hands. How about you flip me over and keep working? Sally says, Chuck. She sounded just like Ramona there for a second. She says, Hush. Mama's in the next room. She doesn't have sensibilities for hearing anything lewd. You say, You're right. She's a proper Southern belle, just like you. Sally says, What do you look like? You say, Who? Sally says, Who? The guy who stabbed you. Says, Oh, well, he had a sheet over him, like a Ku Klux Klan member, kinda. Underneath, he was, like, old and wrinkly with big black eyes. So he says, Now who on earth could that be? Ramona emerges from the kitchen with a bowl of hot soup. Says, Chuck, eat. Please. The worst thing you can do right now is let yourself get weak, hungry, and dehydrated. Christ, it's awful. It is just a random, bizarre combination of spices and uncooked ingredients, much like everything else Ramona makes. This one is so heavy with garlic that it burns your tongue. Like a bath of hot, garlic-steeped vinegar with sprigs of raw parsley. An oily layer of some kind of mustard is floating on top. You swallow it like a shot of ethanol. Thanks. You've really outdone yourself, Ramona. Sally gives you an empathetic look until Ramona ladles you a bowl of her own. Sally has already taken a bite. She takes it like a champ. Thanks, Mama. You eat as much more of the soup as you can bear, and Ramona looks disappointed that you do not finish the rest. You say, Sorry, Ramona, I just don't have much of an appetite after this morning. Maybe I'll stop for a muffin later. Thank you, it's just nice to be thought of. Ramona goes, She takes the bowl with a sigh and goes back into the kitchen. You'll have to get some alone time with her another time. And now you're dreading it for multiple reasons. You turn back to Sally. You say, So, thanks. Really. Thanks for patching me up. Sally says, Oh, anytime. Who wouldn't do it? She says, So, about the other night, I hope you don't think I was trying to, shut you down too hard or anything. I just got... You say, You don't have to explain yourself. You made your choice. That's what grown-ass women do, isn't it? And Sally says, I guess it is. Blood is rushing from your head rapidly, and you have lost your train of thought. You just made another choice, didn't you? And Sally says, maybe. You say, where'd you learn to give a look like that, anyway? Sally goes, wait, what look? You say, you give the sexy bedroom eye as well. So he says, what? Gosh, I didn't even know I was doing it. You scoot a little bit closer. This one is also animated, which you do not get to see unless you go read the quest, so read it. And you give Sally a look right back. I'd love to stay and get much closer, but I've got to go. Sally says, Chuck, please. You're in no condition to go out. Can I show you the book I've been working on? It's in my room. Say, tempting, but I've got to go. And where, though? You're not doing this just to cultivate mystique, but it definitely helps. The sting in your back has subsided to a dull, subcutaneous ache. The puncture wounds seem to be pretty small, so you're alright if you take it easy. You don't feel poisoned, but you'll go to a doctor at the first time of discomfort. Well, other than your zipper right now. You wonder if this town even has a doctor. Has to, almost. And before you leave, you go to the kitchen. Ramona is there, aggressively washing the week's dishes. You say, Ramona. Ramona says, what? You say, I want answers. I know you're lying when you say you don't know what that thing was. Ramona says nothing. You say, Ramona, I was attacked. I have a right to... You want to know? Fine. The Starks murdered Nelson Plath to take the town from us. It was over a century ago, but the Plaths have not forgotten. They brought those demons to slay him. They haven't been seen around town in years, not since Sally was a toddler. That's all I know, and I didn't even want to tell you that. You're safe here, just don't make me talk about it. You don't know how to respond to that. Ramona drops a plate, and it shatters on the floor. And you go, oh, I'll help you. No, I'll get it. Just, please go. And say, Ramona, let me help. Ramona says, it's okay, really. I'm sorry I was short with you. I just want to be alone for a while. You say, gotcha, I don't suppose I could borrow a shirt. Ramona says, you may. You say, thanks. Oh, and is there a doctor in town? Ramona says, there's a clinic in the west wing of City Hall. You say, that's bizarre. Ramona says, maybe. When the town was founded, it was nothing but the library and a bunch of hovels. When City Hall was built, it had a lot more services that helped the town grow. People lived in it and worked in it, all that. You go, huh. Well, I'm going to stop by there to see if the doctor has anything to say about what happened to me. Ramona says, be careful. The words hang in the air for a moment before the rattle of dishes and silverware continues. Ramona says, and Chuck? You say, I still have those shorts. You go to City Hall. The mayor's office is closed, and Lisa is nowhere in sight. The old corridors look renovated, but not since around the turn of the century. The entire West Wing gives the vibe of an abandoned mental hospital. The name on the door to the clinic takes up 2 lines. Looks like Dr. Fintapupapopoulos is in. And there's no one in the waiting room except for... Wait. Sophie? Sophie says, hello. What is wrong? I say, why didn't you tell me you were a doctor? You did not ask. It is only my side job. I say, why would you... What? You mean tailoring is your side job, right? Sophie says, I mean what I said. I say, what is wrong? You're a bit confused. You say, I was attacked in the woods. Don't freak out, but you show her the injuries on your back. They're inflamed now, but the bleeding has long since scabbed over. Sophie says, I have seen much worse. Who attacked you? You say, I don't know. This is going to sound kind of crazy, but it was just some kind of monster. She unwraps the bandage beneath your shirt to get a closer look at the wounds. Small, deep punctures, light bruising. You were impacted here and here. You say, ow! Careful! Sophie says, did someone shoot you with a blowgun? You take the bone needle from the pockets of your pants. Whatever it was launched some kind of fleshy syringes at my back. This is what's left of them. The rest rotted away. And Sophie says, you are right. That does sound crazy. Have you been under great stress? Ingesting any unusual substances or chemicals? You say, I'm not on drugs. At least you think you aren't. You kind of wish you were. That'd probably help with this place. You say, look, I know what I saw. Well, I don't know what I saw, but I know I saw something. It was a wrinkly, furless guy with a white sheet thrown over him. He had big black eyes and a gaping mouth full of little rotten teeth. She says, you said syringe? You say, yeah, something like, so yes, breathing problems, rapid heartbeat, any fatigue, diarrhea, vomiting, fever? You say, nope, some pain where I got hit, but otherwise I feel fine. Sophie takes you one of the 2 exam rooms in the office, unwrapping a hypodermic needle, a vial, and some tubing onto a tray. You say, oh God. Sophie says, these will not be as bad as the needles in your back. She says, look, it's different, alright? I don't like needles. She looks at the bone needle that you showed her again, squinting all 4 of her eyes. She checks your blood pressure, pulse, and weight, checks your eyes, ears, and nose, and then she ties a tourniquet around your arm and prepares to draw your blood. This will need to be mailed. We have no lab in Coxwette. Several days to get results, to see if there was any substance injected into you. You always get faint around needles. You look at her with your glazed eyes and nod. Sophie has 6 arms, which is somewhat jarring, but spider people have frightened you ever since you were a kid. And you say, why'd you become a tailor? Sophie says, I am a tailor and a doctor. You say, but you'd make more money as a doctor. Sophie says, money doesn't matter much to me. Here I treat colds, cuts, and occasional yeast infection. I would rather sew garments than shrapnel wounds these days. Grew tired of seeing death, smelling it. And for the first time she smiles. Do not die. You squint at her, the dizziness slowly fading off. You say, you're really far from home, aren't you? Sophie says, neither of us is home, Chuck. What does the distance matter? It looks like you'll be fine. Thoroughly clean the wounds and reapply your bandages regularly. If you get fever or notice any pus draining from injuries, come back. If I am at home or at the shop, come see me. Say, thanks. How are my costumes coming along anyway? Sophie says, a creative endeavor for me. Not finished, but taking shape. Sophie definitely does not seem to be from Coxwette. Oops, I left out a tab. Say, I think this is about as close to home as I've felt in a long time, really. Sophie looks out at the wall. You'd say, so have you ever thought about, dressing up? Sophie says, as I said, it's far from Halloween. You say, I mean, just for fun. Sophie says, no. She says, seriously, you make clothes and you've never played dress up? Says, perhaps when I was a child. Say, right. So, you think I'm good to go then? So he says, yes, of course. Come to see me if you have complications. You go to the library, which is tranquil on a Sunday. It's strange to see it without Sally rushing around. Rita the post coyote is seated at one of the tables, reading. You continue to the computer lab, knocking on the door this time. Naz says, come in. Naz is here, hunched over at a computer desk, covered in miscellaneous clutter. She has a cup of nearly empty cold coffee and a pan muffin. You realize, despite the sizable "no food and drink in the lab" sign, Naz not only regularly eats, but also created a makeshift pudding launcher here. Truly a monster, with no regard for rules. You say, hey bud, what's going on? Naz says, really trying to catch up on work. Selma stayed late and scanned about 30 books, so a lot of work for me. I'm trying to get a full backup of the book database as of now, too. If we lose all this work to a fire or some shit, I'm going the way of Lofty Lorraine. You probably shouldn't be building pudding launchers in here then, honestly. Naz says, yeah, well, what's up? You strike one of your practiced sleazy dirtbag positions. Say, I just spent the last few hours talking about weird dudes injecting fluids into people, and immediately thought of you. Naz says, good to know I have a brand. You talk about that kind of stuff a lot? Say, usually just keep it in my head. Naz says, I believe it. What the hell, though? Say, I don't know how to explain this, but actually, come to think of it, you might be the only person in town who might listen to this story. You lift up your shirt and show Naz your bandages. I was attacked by some kind of monster in the woods. Images of the horrific creature and also a pleasant blue sofa flash through your mind, and you suddenly feel panicked. Naz says, you okay? What was it, like a bear or something? You describe the monster in as much detail as you can piece together from your frantic memories. You say, so, do you even actually believe in paranormal shit? Naz pauses for a moment. I'm a woman of science, but yes, I think I know someone who might be interested in pursuing this case. She opens up something on her computer and begins typing out a lengthy message. You decide to give the mouse a shoulder massage. You say, sounds good. I think we've both had a rough day, though. You want to get out of here for a little bit? And Naz says, sounds tempting, but to be perfectly honest, I haven't showered in like 16 hours. I'm probably covered in lab stink. Sorry, man. You walk behind her and start to knead the shoulders. Oh, that's when you do it. Okay. She starts to shudder. Oh, okay. You're good at that. You said, just relax a little while. Keep working if you want. Though now that you mention it, I can kind of smell you a little bit. You should seriously take a break from work, though. Who are you? Sally or something? Naz says, nobody's that bad. I've got to finish this, though. I'm in the zone, and I can't get out. Know what I'm saying? You decide to reach around towards her chest and say, even if I go like this? Naz says, or how to, if I go, yeah, babe. You like that, don't you? Naz says, I'm, losing my train of thought. Alright, you better go. She fans herself with her hand. You're super distracting, and I know I'm not going to get any work done if you keep doing that. You laugh and take your hands away. Alright. Who are you contacting anyway? Naz says, someone from another part of the county? She's like a professional ghost hunter or something. Runs a blog about it. You say, she sounds like kind of a nut. Naz says, yeah, well, you're telling a nutty story. Maybe that's what you need. Anyway, I'll see you at the shoot. How are the costumes coming? You say, fine, Sophie says. You stand there for a little while longer and say, I'm going to fuck your brains out in a couple of days. You know that. And Naz says, Chuck, go get a muffin or something. She looks at briefly and then shifts in her seat and puts on some headphones. I don't know. Stop by my apartment or something later. You leave Naz a clandestine note to start looking into the history of the Plath Stark food, and then walk over to the bakery. Marcy's in the back, and there are very few actual pastries out. You walk back and call for her. Marcy is hunched over a counter preparing various pastries for the week. She takes off her hairnet and shakes it over the dustbin and gasps, Chuck! You say, I'm so happy to see you. You hug Marcy, but it winds up a little closer than you expected. She falls into your arms, her face aglow with a smile. Marcy says, I'm happy to see you too, Chuck. I saw you just last night, of course. You say, yeah, but it's been a bad day for me. Your smile helps. Marcy says, really? Just a smile? This wasn't part of the plan, and I forgot to hit the tabs. This wasn't part of the plan, but you can't complain. You don't know whether you or Marcy decided to do this first, or maybe it was both at the same time. For a few long seconds, there is no bakery, and there was no monster, and it is only you and Marcy alone in the void. She's squeezing your back hard, but you don't have the heart to tell her that it hurts. And give her a sly grin and say, so, does this count as overtime? Marcy says, no, absolutely not. You cannot help but laugh, so you turn away before you look too amused. It's like, no, I was flirting with you. It was a joke. Marcy says, right, I'm sorry. I'm still getting used to that. She sighs and leans back against the counter. Says, Chuck? You say, You know, do you think I'm dumb? You say, no, you're not dumb. You're just specialized. You're the best baker I've ever met. And that takes serious time and devotion. Time I spent on things like, sex jokes. He says, well, if you say so, I get tired of being out of the loop all the time. You say, yeah, I know. I get it. I used to hang around a lot of people who spoke other languages. I never knew what any of those guys were saying. He says, well, you're speaking my own language. It's just not the same. I just don't think that way. You say, I kind of like that about you, Marcy. Me, I get distracted so easily with that stuff, and you're just focused. Besides, you think about things in a way I can't. Marcy says, do you think about sex that much? You always thought about it a lot, but since you arrived in Coxwette, it's been nearly constant. You say, once in a while, yeah. Marcy says, I've got to get back to work. Thanks for coming to see me today. It really means a lot to me. You hug Marcy and tell her that you'll see her back bright and early for work. Marcy. Well, it's around 4 p.m., so you have the sad, waning hours of the weekend left to do whatever you'd like. So, for the time being, you go to the shop stop. Ellen is there as always, looking bored. She sighs disdainfully when you make it clear you're going to talk to her. No smile? She flashes a smile for half a second. You're impressed? You look around the store to see who else is there, and not surprisingly, there is no one. You say, so, I wanted to talk to you about when you worked for Davy. Ellen says, do we have to talk about that? You say, I just saw something strange on Davy's land. Ellen says, okay. I wanted to know if you saw anything weird while you were there. Ellen says, nope. You don't believe her, but you'll still give her a break and look around the store for a little while. You find a flashlight for $8 and a few well-made shirts for $7 each. There's no hunting knives, but you can find a steak knife set for $20 and a baseball bat for $12. You return to the counter and take out your wallet. You say, listen, Ellen, I know his kind. I'm just worried he hurt you. If you don't tell someone what happened there, well, you might never smile again. Just think about it, alright? Ellen says, I have told someone. You say, huh? Who? Ellen says, Donna? You say, his daughter? Ellen says, he used to make me stay overnight in his barn when it was raining. Donna always came out and brought me food and played board games with me. You say, you had to sleep in the barn? Was there an apartment in it or something? Ellen shakes her head. And what did Donna do when you talked to her? Ellen says, well, she gave me a hug, and she slept out there too. She brought me a blanket and a pillow, and we stayed up late telling stories. We just talked and talked about anything, I guess. You say, was that all Davy did to you? Made you sleep in the barn? Ellen shakes her head and looks away and says, what are you gonna buy? You buy a flashlight, a shirt, a 20-foot nylon rope, and a baseball bat. Your total is $33. And Ellen recites in a very dull tone, we appreciate your business. You say, look, if you want, I can go to the cops about this. Ellen says, please don't. Well, if you ever want someone to talk to, I'm okay. You say, it gets better, alright? And Ellen nods, packing your purchase into a paper bag. You head for the door, looking at Ellen on your way out. Your childhood wasn't stellar, but it was probably better than hers. You say, maybe we'll get together and paint soon. I'm no good, but maybe it'd be fun. Ellen's ear twitches. You'd do that? You say, absolutely. If you've got paint, that is. Ellen says, I do, yeah. You had no idea an accent so cute could sound so sad. You give her a smile anyway. Let's do it then. I bet you could teach me a thing or two. As much as you want to promise her you'll smash that farmer's face in, you can't. As much as you desperately want to ask her what she's seen, what you saw, and what has happened to her, you just can't do it to that literally doe-eyed face. And say, Tuesday? After work? Ellen says, sure, I guess. You say, I'll see you then. You'll go to Naz's place next, but you were quick to realize you don't actually know where that is. You recall that Selma and Naz live together. If Naz is off work, they're probably both off. The library's been locked and closed up, so that not even Sally is there at the moment. You go back to the area where you hung the flyers up last week. There's a small apartment complex there with some lights on. It's pretty active for a Sunday night, and you can hear sounds coming from various units. Some of them have thumping, or music, or laughter. You decide to knock on the door with the music. You follow it, and it grows louder and clearer as you approach the lower floor beneath the balcony. It's a single voice, accompanied by a crunchy electric guitar playing improvised blues licks. Freedom is just another word for nothing left to lose, and nothing don't mean nothing if it ain't free. And feeling good was easy loud when he sang the blues, and feeling good is good.